So before starting the Azure DevOps, let us understand the DevOps and the existing process, how it will help to convert to the Azure DevOps. Okay, and what are the drawbacks of DevOps and how can we overcome by using the Azure DevOps? If you see this picture, whatever I'm showing here, there are different teams. If you take any project, there will be a development team, there will be operations team, right? See this one. So there will be a development team, there will be operations team, and there are many other teams. But majorly we consider one is development team and another one is operations team. There will be a security team, there will be a QA team, there will be a ops team. But what is happening with the current waterfall model or what models we are following? There are no proper handshakes between all the teams. That's where actually the projects are getting delayed and it will take more time to deliver the project. So to overcome this, people have started following agile and scrum practices. What is the advantage of by following this? There will be a proper handshake between the development team and operations team. If we see here, the development team will develop the code, then they will take some time to test unit testing and all. Then after taking some time, they will be delivering it to the operations team. Operations team will take time to set up the environment to replicate basically the development environment. Then after that, it will go to the QA and all. So overall, what is happening here? There is a lot of time, which is taking more time, and there is no direct communication between the QA and the development team. Actually, who tests this code? QA. And who develops this? Development team. So in between, there is operations team who will involve. So that's where the time is more actually between them. So to overcome that issue, so there is a connecting points between the development and ops, which is operations team. So by connecting those dots or the teams basically, so we can save time and we can deliver the objects quickly and we can give it back the feedback immediately. So that's how we can create the proper handshake between the development team and the other teams. So how can we overcome that? How are we going to do that? By using the concept of DevOps. So what are the different phases of DevOps? If you take any project life cycle, there will be a planning stage. It will start with planning, then it will go to the coding, then go to the build stage, then testing, then integrate, then deploy, then operate. This entire process will be monitored by, there are few monitoring tools which will be monitoring all these tools. Okay, just give me one is pinging. Santosh is saying he can hear you. How about others?
Yeah, we are getting your voice.
Okay, Santosh probably can rejoin. Santosh, you can leave and join again. So there is no issue with others. There might be some issue from your side. Okay. So this is how we will create. This is kind of cycling process. So every team, every stage is connected each other. So that's how the DevOps model will help to deliver the products in a quicker way, right? We'll talk about that, how we'll do all those things. So these are the different, there is DevOps is okay. After delivering all the phases of this, using this is everything is perfect. But the present world is like facing a lot of issues with the hackers. Everywhere the hackers are trying to hack the code, hack the sources, hack the products, and they are trying to take over the project, complete project. And they are doing, see, you can see, right, lot of threats are there now. So to overcome that, actually the world is moving towards a concept of DevSecOps, right? So what is happening with the DevSecOps in the DevOps model itself? If you start integrating the security from the starting itself, and I mean the sense from the planning stage itself, so we will deliver our product in a more secured way, so that we can at least avoid the hacking point of view. So what is DevSecOps? See, integrating the security tools at every phase, like in the coding phase, threat modeling and design reviews from the security point of view, right? In the build point of view, there are few, what do you say, static code analysis tools. Basically, code analysis tools are there, static code, open source, many tools. So I'm just giving one example. I'll cover more in actual trainings. See, right? So integrating these code analysis tools at the build stage itself will give you a lot of vulnerabilities and loopholes and all the drawbacks of our code, whatever we are going to deliver to the customer. So before getting into the testing stage itself, we can identify those issues and we can fix them. So that way we can deliver a better product. And at the testing stage also, we can do the dynamic analysis testing, and there is something called security testing. Even that can be integrated at the testing phase. And in the delivery phase also, there are few security configurations, security assessment and configuration level. Those can be integrated at the delivery phase itself. So what is this is complete DevSecOps lifecycle, right? So this is DevOps, perfect. Whatever this cycle, this is what we discussed in the first feature of DevOps. Now, the other boxes, whatever I'm showing here, are the security tools which can be integrated at the every phase of DevOps lifecycle. So I'm not going in detail. This is the DevSecOps. The world is moving towards this, everywhere integrating security to deliver a better product to the customer. Okay. So what is the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps? The DevOps model will have only the plain DevOps, whatever the phases we have. But whereas if you see the DevSecOps, we have more tools integrated to the DevOps model, right? So if you see this, same, whatever we discussed. So by doing this, what are the advantages? Security is integrated at every stage. And the major advantage of this is early detection of all the vulnerabilities, right? Infected files or loopholes or drawbacks of the code. And we can deliver faster delivery and improve the agility and no costly rework. One of the services doing rework after identifying the issues at the final stage is almost 50 to 60% of the project cost, right? So by integrating all these security models, security tools, so we will save the rework cost and ultimately we'll end up delivering more secure products. Clear? What is DevOps and what is DevSecOps? Any doubts?
No doubt.
Okay. So these are the tools which are used. I'm again, only few top tools are covered here in this slide. So these are the few tools which will be integrated at every stage of DevOps model and DevSecOps model. The first picture is all about DevOps tools. This one is SecOps tools, right? So example, at the source code, what tools we have? Git, GitHub, GitLab, and Teamforce, right? There are different tools for the source code management. And at the CI server, continuous integration, CI/CD level, we have Jenkins, Go, GitLab, and Electric Cloud. So for testing, we have Kubernetes and Docker. We'll talk about that, how these Kubernetes and Dockers are used, all those things. And artifacts, Nexus, and there are many. I'm just telling one or two tools here. And the deployment, for deployment purpose, these are the three major tools: Ansible, Puppet, and Chef. And again, testing, we have the as usual our test cases and monitoring tools, which is very, very important these days. Your entire project, entire process will be monitored and it will be sending the notifications for any unauthorized access or unauthorized services, right? These are the different tools which are integrated, which can be integrated at the monitoring stage. And for the same thing, for source code level, we can integrate the Fortify and Coverity and node security projects. I mean, this is another tool. And there is McAfee for malware scans and Palamida for open source tools. And there are SonarQube again for the open source tools. There are different tools which can be used for the security point of view, right? So if you can understand this, right, this picture. So what we are trying to do here is we are working at integrating n number of different tools into the process of DevOps model. See, if I want to integrate Git or TeamForce, I need to work individually for this and set up a complete setup for this tools and integrate it. Similarly, I need to configure the Jenkins or Git or whatever the tool the project requires. So we need to work on that specific tool, then integrate it by using some scripts, right? So every tool is like that. You need to set up, configure everything, then integrate with the DevOps process, right? So this is kind of, you need to understand a lot of tools to integrate. You need to understand a lot of configuration point of view, right? So you need to basically you need to learn many tools, right? This is good practice, which is everybody is following, but problem for this is learning curve is high. It will take more time to learn because you need to learn many tools, right? So how this is the major disadvantage of DevOps. So how we are going to overcome by using the Azure DevOps, right? Till now, is it clear what is DevOps?
Sir.
Right. So if you understand this, so Azure DevOps is easy to understand actually. That's why I'm asking. If you have any questions, please ask me. I can explain on the DevOps and DevSecOps part. Right. So basically what happens, you need to work on every tool and integrate it using some scripts. But what is Azure DevOps? Azure DevOps is basically known as, earlier it was called as VSTS, Visual Studio Team Services, right? If you want to have a enterprise grade DevOps model, so we can go with the Azure DevOps. What is the advantage of doing this? This Azure DevOps is like the Microsoft has come up with like a SaaS, software as a service. What is software as a service? So whatever the tools we have seen here, they combined all together and they come up with one single tool, which is Azure DevOps, right? You no need to install all these things, whatever the Git or Jenkins or Kubernetes, you no need to install. They have a bundle which is integrated as a SaaS, software as a service. The combination of all these tools may not be all. There are few tools. So I'll talk about that, about the other tools. So consider that there are the whatever is required to work on DevOps model is integrated into a single product or single software, and that is getting delivered as SaaS to the end users, right? So that is what the Azure DevOps. So now you no need to spend a lot of time to set up individual tools. So everything is bundled here. The product is readily available. Just take that product and plug and play and start using it in our project. So that is the major advantage of this Azure DevOps, right? So what can Azure DevOps do? So there are different services within the Azure DevOps. As said, is a software as a product, right? Software, it's a complete service. So in this Azure DevOps, there are 5 major services, which is Azure Boards, right? Then Azure Repos, then Azure Pipelines, Azure Test Plans, Azure Artifacts. Don't worry about this. Whatever we have just discussed about this, these are the tools. The source code will fall in one of the repos. You see repo is there here. Azure Repos, Azure Boards. We'll talk about Azure Board. What is Azure Board? And pipelines, the CI/CD will come into the pipeline. Azure Test, whatever the test plans we have in DevOps model, and Azure Artifacts. We even have artifacts here. Artifacts. So test plan, CI/CD, source code. The combination of all this is nothing but Azure DevOps, right? These are the major component, major services which are part of Azure DevOps, right? So what is the advantage of combining all these tools as a DevOps engineer or Azure DevOps engineer? right? So we'll talk about that. So Azure Boards. Azure Boards is nothing but a centralized place where every project is following agile planning now, agile methodologies, right? So the Azure Boards is a planning board basically. It is also called Kanban board, right? So starting from, if you are aware of a tool called Zira, this is exactly equal to Zira, right? Whatever the features you have in Zira, right, as part of DevOps process, everything same set of options, features will be available in the Azure boards, right? It basically every project is following the sprints now, right? A sprint will be created in Azure boards, and that will be used for the entire process, and everybody, all the members, whoever is involved in this project will be used, right? And Azure repos is nothing but repository version controlling basically, right? So which can be like equal to a Git. So there are projects, most of the projects now are using Git and GitHub. And there are few projects whoever is using TFVC, Team Foundation version control tool also. Now the combination of Git and TFVC also can be used as part of Azure repos. So there is no problem at all. If your project is using Git, you can continue to use Git with the Azure repos. You can integrate that. And what is Azure pipelines? So whatever we are using Jenkins to create our CI/CD pipelines, projects process. So Azure pipelines will support those things. And what is Azure test plans? Basically to include our manual or testing process, test results, everything will be presented in the test plans. And artifacts, all third-party components will be part of Azure artifacts, right? So to make it simple, let me just show you. If you go to dev.azure.com, basically you need to log into your, you have to create your Microsoft account. Then I'll show you how it looks like. What? Okay, I'll show you that. Account is locked. So there will be different options in the Azure DevOps, it will come like, if you take your just to simplify, you would have worked on Excel or PowerPoint, right? If you take any PowerPoint or Excel, right? So you have a lot of options which are available as part of this tool, right? Assume that this is Azure DevOps, right? Microsoft Office is Azure DevOps. Within the Office, you have assume that this is your Azure DevOps, which is equal to just to compare, I'll say MS Office, right? In the MS Office, you have Excel, you have Outlook, you have PowerPoint, you have a number of tools like that. You have Word. So these are the services which we have here as part of Azure DevOps, like Azure Boards, Azure Repos, Azure Pipelines, Azure Test Plans, Azure Artifacts. Now, if you install MS Office, assume that this is your Azure reports, repositories, or whatever the pipelines. So you have so many options here, like here, insert, play, whatever the many options. Similarly, if you take Azure boards, there are few set of options, whatever is required as part of your DevOps model, right? So all those things you can just drag and drop and start using those things. Okay. So these are the components we have. I'll show you the life cycle so that you can understand better. Okay. These are the 5 components, 5 services which will come apart along with the Azure DevOps model. You see this Azure DevOps project lifecycle. So generally what happens, customer will come up with some requirements. If it is our own product, we have our own requirements, right, to come up to create a product. So entire this project requirements will be collected, and who will involve in the project requirements? Basically the business analysts and the product owners, right? So they will involve and they will they will collect the backlogs. What is backlog? Backlog is nothing but work items, right? So after collecting their, let me take this. After collecting the backlogs, they will enter or they will start sprints. Basically, it's called sprints, right? So they will enter all the details into the Azure boards, which is like Kanban boards. So after entering all the project requirements, the development team will involve there. So the development team will start taking the backlogs, whatever is available in the Azure boards. They will start developing their source code. So once they start developing, what is required, they need to put into the repositories, right? So they will use the Azure repos for the version controlling tool, right? Once they have entered everything, the development is done, they will do that. They will integrate or they will commit into the source code. Then the development finishes. Once that is done, they will send the artifacts or the requests. Basically, see, there will be different branches. So directly they cannot integrate development team into the integration branches. That's where the Azure DevOps team will involve or DevOps team will involve to merge those changes into the integration branches. So there is something called pull requests in the repositories. So basically the development team will create the pull request. That pull request will be reviewed by the seniors and they will approve it. So how can we achieve that? Using the CI/CD pipelines. Once the pull request is done, so there is something called build, which we need to do. Just convert your source code into encrypted format or creating the binaries, right? So once you create this binaries, then that will be deployed into the deployment servers. Okay. So once you deploy into the deployment servers, then there are 2 things, right? So in this deployment server, 2 options. If there is any issues, right, again, send it back to the create another issue into the board. Then the board will again the respective development team will check these boards and they will fix it. Again, this is kind of cycle. If there is no issues, everything is fine, then they will deploy into the different environments. It can be testing environment or UAT environment or production or pre-production. There will be a number of other deployment environments, just represented only few. You just follow the numbers here, right? So you can understand the complete picture. So once testing is done, right, everything UAT is certified, then there is something called CCUs, customer certifies, everything certification is done from the respective owners or authorized persons. Then finally it will go to the production, right? So this entire process, right, is captured in the something called Kanban boards, right? So what is the advantage? If you please try to understand this, this will actually explains complete picture of Azure DevOps. Okay. So this is overall process of Azure DevOps. So any doubts in this? Is it clear? To make it more
That's what.
easy, this is another way of representing, which can be Same thing, how the process is involved. See, everything, once the project is started, the requirements will be gathered and entered into the Azure boards, right? So the respective teams will check the Azure boards and they will start working on these backlog items. So who will involve that? Most of them, the development team or the testing and security team or testing team, whoever is that part of that sprints, right? Sprint is nothing but simple. Earlier, people used to follow the waterfall model, right? Now every project will follow the sprints. So there will be a time like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks based on the sprint capacity and the work, right? Or the resource availability. By considering all these things, they will decide the sprint time. Let's say 3 weeks is the sprint time. Within the 3 weeks, whatever the tasks assigned to them, so there will be regular stand-ups, right? They need to update the status for that. So they have to take those sprints and complete by end of the sprint, whatever it is, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever the respective project have defined it, right? So developer will take that, they will start using their respective code based on their source code. If it is Java project, if it is .NET project, or if it is C project, the respective tools they will use to develop that. Once the development is done, they will push the code to Azure repos, which is Git basically most of the time. Okay. After pushing it, there will be something called triggers, build triggers, or basically pipelines, right? CI is nothing but integrating the build part to the repositories. As soon as some check-ins happen, trigger my build, right? So once you trigger that build will generate the artifacts, right? Either you publish the artifacts to artifact server, or there will be a few projects which may directly release those things. If it is small projects, that will be taken care by something called Azure pipelines, which is continuous delivery. As soon as your build is done, continuously deliver that, right? If it is moved to or published to artifacts, then something called pull artifacts. So again, this is integrated to the your process. Once your CD is ready, then deploy those things into different stages. First, it will go to dev stage because they will do the minimal testing, which is required to give it to the QA. So once that is done after deployment, then it will go to the QA stage, right? There will be a number of stages based on the project requirement, but overall high level, this is the process most of the projects will follow, right? And once you deploy into the QA stage, there will be QA regressions or test cases will be executed. Again, there will be conditions based on number of failures, all those things. If everything is fine, this will talk about all the in case if it is a web application. So again, once you deploy into the server, automatically that will be reflected into the your web applications. Once QA stage is passed, there will be different gateways before putting into the production stage. In the production stage, how generally we will maintain is there will be different slots. Staging slot will be there. So production slot, we will never directly deploy into the production slot. First, we will deploy into the staging slot. Once everything is certified, everything is working fine, then this will swap to the production slot. So with that, we will not give the downtime of the production so that it will be more better efficient way of deploying into the production. Clear? So what is the advantage over DevOps with Azure DevOps? The Azure DevOps is easy to install and take just only a few minutes. You don't need to do any configurations. Just log into the Microsoft account and start using that. That's all. You don't need to install so many things, install Jenkins, install other tools, whatever is required, right? So it's a matter of few minutes. You are ready to use it, right? You can run the applications without any efforts, basically, right? And it will support almost all the platforms, whatever is available, and it will support a lot of frameworks also. So whatever is required for the project as per your requirement, it will support Java, it will support Node.js, right? PHP, .NET, Python, whatever you are using. There is no restrictions on the language here. So you can start your own app. There is something called marketplace, right? See, assume that, don't think that whatever the tools we have here, these are the services only I have. So what I need to do if my project is using some other service or some other tool? Nothing to worry. So Azure DevOps has a flexibility of integrating n number of market tools, like your own custom tools, right? There is something called marketplace. So where you can just plug and play, just download that and integrate it. If you see here, most of the times, so I was talking about DevSecOps here, if you remember, right? This is DevSecOps model. So whatever the tools we talked about, most of them are here, but these tools are not. So what we are going to cover as part of this course is, believe me, security is becoming one of the critical thing now for every project. If you know few of the security tools, at least the knowledge you have, integrating those to DevOps process, you are the highly demanded. You have high, right? So that these are tools, whatever we are using here, the security tools, these are like third-party tools, right? So not part of, all are not part of Azure DevOps. So using marketplace, you can integrate them, right? So that it will become Azure DevOps with more secured way of doing that. So we can also discuss how to integrate all those things here. Okay. So this is overall DevOps and Azure DevOps, basically DevSecOps, DevOps, and Azure DevOps. So we will cover all these things. We will first talk about how to install the Azure DevOps, how to create the boards, how to create the pipelines, how to create the repos, right? How to create the test plans, all those things. Scratch will start, and how to integrate the custom tools, like what are the security tools we discussed, how to integrate all those things into the Azure DevOps, right? Any doubts? Did you guys understand? Or if you want me to explain in any other, if you have any questions, doubts, or I can explain.
Yeah, hi Bharat. Good morning.
Yeah.
Myself Nagesh. Here I have a small doubt regarding about that. Recently, one of my colleagues also they are asking about any code is required to for this.
No, not required. That's
No.
what. See, generally what happens, most of the time we will end up writing pipelines. So the pipelines solve the key things here to integrate all the teams or the work, right? So you not required, coding knowledge is not required here because it is integrated package. You can just drag and drop.
Okay. By default, inbuilt components are there here.
Yes, these are all inbuilt components.
Okay, so okay, thank you. If you don't mind, can you share that? I think maybe in your company you are taking the interviews, or you are. I think you attended some interviews. Can you share your experience in what way they are asking the questions and all those things, so that people can get idea about this Azure DevOps? Because right now I'm sharing my experience. I have a small confusion right now that Azure DevOps is there and AWS DevOps is there. So which is more demand in the market? Could you please share that your experience that, because so not only me, so many people are having some small confusion.
Got it. See, simple thing. See, Azure DevOps actually started in 2019. So earlier it was Team Foundation server, right? Just show you one document. See, people are using, see, if you are learning Azure DevOps, that doesn't mean you should know the DevOps also, right? So whatever we are using here, that's what that is the reason I'm just trying, I just compared both of them, the DevOps and the Azure DevOps, right? So whatever the tools we are using here, DevOps or DevSecOps, the same tools are also used in the Azure DevOps. Advantage of Azure DevOps is same. If you see here, source code is Git and GitHub. Even Azure DevOps, the Azure repos are nothing but Git only. Okay. If you take pipelines, CI server or CI/CD server, Jenkins, even you have the same thing, Jenkins, whatever you use here, CI/CD. There is
Okay.
no difference in the backend. Okay, only for the front end. If you want to do this DevOps, you need to install Git, you need to install Jenkins, you need to install n number of tools, whatever is required or whatever support is required for your project. But whereas if you go to the Azure DevOps, it is already bundled, it is ready to available. It's like ready to eat,
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
Getting vegetables, everything, and chopping and making whatever the food you want is different than ready to eat. Something is readily available, you just take and eat.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Got it, right? Okay. Any other doubts? So actually, Azure DevOps slowly picking up well because they have just started Azure DevOps in 2019, right? Earlier, it was like different. Uh, I was just trying to show some. If you see here, this is the history of Azure DevOps, right? Actually, it is there from 2005. In 2018-19 only, they started calling it as Azure DevOps Services, right? There are two things actually: Azure DevOps Service, Azure DevOps Server, which is like on premises. You need to set up your own server, all those details for the Azure DevOps Server. Azure DevOps Services is nothing but SaaS, software as a service. So it is available in cloud, right? Before that, DevOps was like famous. Now people are struggling to learn a number of tools as part of DevOps, all those things. That is the reason people started slowly shifting to Azure DevOps, which is like ready to available, ready to use that product.
Thank you, Bhaskar.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I was being late to the session, sir.
Yes. Tell me, Ashwan.
Sir, I missed some starting 5 slides, sir.
Okay.
Okay, can you, if you don't mind, can you explain those, sir?
Starting 5 slides. Okay.
Till here, like, please go down, sir.
Okay. This to here.
Not that, sir. Till no, sir.
This one.
The
This one.
architecture you were showing about that, sir.
Okay.
Like,
This one.
Jenkins. Till from here I've started, sir.
Okay. No, this is the ultimate DevOps and DevSecOps architecture. What I was trying to say previous to that is like there are different teams in the project, so there is no proper handshake between all the teams. So what is the disadvantage if you don't have proper handshake between the teams is the projects will take more time and
Okay.
it will add a lot of rework if you don't have proper cooperation coordination, right? And the time to notify the issues to the development team is a lengthy process. To avoid that, there is the process of DevOps model is implemented, which will create the proper handshake between the teams. Like majorly, we are representing here development team and operations teams, but there will be a number of other teams like security team and testing team or ops team, any teams. But the DevOps process will create complete handshake between all of them. That is what the DevOps model. And what are the different phases we have? In DevOps model, planning, coding, build, test, integrating, and deployment and operations. So this entire process will be monitored by few of the monitoring tools in the DevOps process. Okay, this is the different phase. These are the different phases which are available in the DevOps model, right? So now everybody started following the DevOps model, but there are a lot of threats, right? Hackers are attacking like anything now these days, the applications. So to avoid that, so the project started using DevSecOps model. What is DevSecOps? What is the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps? Integrating the security tools and features and process or methods at every stage of DevOps lifecycle. That is nothing but DevSecOps. So these are the different stages of DevOps model, and for every stage there are couple of security tools and processes which can be integrated at every stage. If we start implementing security tools at the beginning itself, we will deliver a secure product, and that will reduce a lot of costly reworks, right? So this is the difference between DevOps model and DevSecOps model. You have same phases, whatever you have: coding, building, testing, delivery, but at every stage we are integrating the security tools here, right? So by doing that, these are the advantages. We can detect the issues in early stage itself, and we can deliver it quickly, and we can improve the agility, and there are no costly reworks. That is the major things. Ultimately, we'll deliver the more secure product, and customer also will be happy for that, right?
Yes, sir.
That's
And
what we
eighth slide.
discussed. Eighth slide, yeah. So these are the different stages of DevOps model, like source code, CI server, testing phase, artifacts, reproduction or deployment or integration or monitoring. These are the different tools we'll use at every stage. Again, these are few of the top tools. Again, there are many tools which are available based on their project requirement. They will use that. So at source code level, you will use Git, Teamforce, and CI/CD level, Jenkins, Go, and GitLab. Testing phase, Kubernetes, Docker, artifacts, Nexus, and production and deployment will use Ansible, Puppet, Chef, and monitoring tools like Nagios, ELK, Elasticstack. And these are the security tools which has to be integrated at every stage of DevOps model, right? Fortify for scanning Coverity, for all these are all for static code analysis, and McAfee is for malware scan. Alameda is for open source scan. SonarQube again is for open source scan. So Nexus is again for vulnerability scanning, right? There are a number of tools which has to be integrated so that we will identify all your vulnerabilities in the early stage itself.
Okay. At each level, we need to install this GitHub, this thing, sir. For source code, GitHub. For CI, Jenkins.
Yes, that is the drawback of DevOps model. So you need to install every tool and configure it. But whereas if you go to the Azure DevOps, it is bundled already. It is ready to use it. All are already available in the package of Azure DevOps.
They are pre-installed, sir. Freely installed.
Yes, they are free. I'll show that as well.
Okay.
So cost of for you see here. For all open source project, this is free. So what is in the free? It is included 10 parallel jobs. This is more than enough for our practices and our use. And for like small teams, again, if you see, Azure pipelines is free, Azure boards are free, Azure repos are free. These three are the major things to develop, right? So these are three. If you want artifacts, basically, right, to store your objects and all, you need to pay. Right? Again, that is also free for up to certain levels. Start free with up to 5 users, right?
Okay.
It is free for your practice. Everything you can use the free one.
Okay, sir. My point was pre-installed, sir, not free.
Yes, pre-installed. Yes, sorry. Yeah, it is pre-installed. Everything is pre-installed. Okay. Any other doubts? Ashwant, this is clear for you?
Sir, yes, sir. And sir, what is the percentage of coding level required for this Azure DevOps, sir?
No coding required for this because all are integrated, right? Already you just need to drag and drop the things.
Okay, it is plug and play.
Plug and play kind of thing. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Tools are available, just plug and play. That's
Okay,
why
sir.
the learning curve is very easy here. You see, that is one of the major advantage people are shifting to here.
Sir, can you show us the small example for that, sir? Like how from starting from then, how does this works with an example?
With an example you want.
Like for example, the production of a pen in background, what and all things does to the company, or else with any example which we are familiar with.
Okay. See what happens if you take any project, right? What I was explaining this MS Office so that will be easy for you. So,
Okay, sir.
so MS Office, if you see this, right? If you install Office, assume that this is your Azure DevOps.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Right. This MS Office has a combination of multiple services. What are the different services we have? You have your
Word,
Notepad. You have your Notepad. You have your PPT,
PowerPoint.
whatever that PowerPoint. You have your Excel,
Yes,
right?
Yes, sir.
Excel. This is your
PowerPoint.
PPT. This is your Word.
MS Word. Yes, sir.
Word. This is your Outlook. Outlook
Yes.
also will come, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. Now, if you take Outlook, right? Assume that PPT is nothing but your boards. I'm just comparing.
Sir.
Okay. So in PPT, what and all you can do? You can represent in a dashboard way, right? Dashboards basically, right?
Yes.
You can create dashboards. Similarly, the boards will help you to complete analysis, complete reports, complete picture of the project in boards, which is called Kanban boards, right? You can check in the boards, right? If you take Outlook, you can send a lot of reports and all, right? I mean, I'm just comparing with mails, right? Reports, all those things, right? So within the Outlook, you have a lot of options. New mail, create a new mail, right? Many things are will be there, right? So within the Outlook or within the PPT or within the Excel, you have n number of other options.
Okay, sir.
Right? So those options will be like a number of features for every service, what we have here.
Done, sir.
You get it, right? So Azure boards, so Azure DevOps is MS Office. Within the MS Office, how you have different services like whatever we discussed, right? Excel, PPT, Word, Outlook. You have these are the tools. Within that, you have a number of features.
Okay.
What are you doing? Are you writing any code here? You are using the existing features. So whatever is required to fulfill the software lifecycle, all the features are already integrated in this. In case if your project is not aligned to any of the tools which are available or integrated with this, you have always have an option of marketplace. You can plug the third-party tools also.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Clear? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other doubts?
Sir, we would be representing entire thing or like at the end, sir?
See, there are different again. See, I was showing in this picture, right? Where's that picture? Here, this one. You see here, in the birds and all, what you will do, the business analyst or project management team will involve, they will write those things, right?
Okay.
So we will be managing all these things mostly, right? Again, we will fit in one of the place only. Again, see, the DevOps is like complete process, right? In the entire project life cycle. So you cannot do everything, right? So based on your experience, your skills, I may be a DevOps engineer, but I'm good at some specific thing, right?
Yes.
So based on your skills and all, they will place accordingly, or the based on requirement they will place. for the specific team. But one person will not be doing everything. That is for sure. There are a number
Yes,
of
sir.
people as a team.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't have
Yes,
any
sir.
doubts, then thank you. Thank you for attending. But this will be the future, believe me. So the future is completely moving towards the agile methodology, which is exactly fitting with the DevOps and DevSecOps, which is Azure DevOps.
I have a doubt, sir.
Yes.
Sir, what is the difference between AWS and this DevOps, sir? Azure DevOps.
There is no DevOps, the difference. So whatever the services are available, AWS is from Amazon, Azure is from Microsoft. See, again, it's a competitors. That's all. See, there they'll call it as like EC2 instances, S3 storage, right? The same services here in a different terminology. That's all. So ultimately, they are competitors, right? What is the difference between your say Netflix and Amazon?
Both are the OTT platforms, sir. But then the content providing things, they'll be focused on their budget.
Same thing. Ultimate goal is same, right?
Yes, 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 sir.
OTT here also same. The cloud platforms both are. AWS is a cloud platform. Azure is a cloud platform. Their services, the cost, see, few things will vary, but ultimate overall theme, high level theme is same.
Okay, sir.
Based on their project requirement, few people will opt for AWS and few people will opt for Azure, or most of the companies will started following, implementing all actually. In Azure, they will deploy, in AWS, they will deploy, in GCP, they will deploy, right? It's ultimately customer choice. I have my web application. If I deploy, okay, same thing, you compare with the same OTT, whatever we talked. We have one movie, right? So you can sell it to Netflix, you can sell it to Amazon, you can sell it to whatever that Disney, right?
Yes,
The
sir.
number of people who will watch will be more. Obviously, what people will do. So again, ultimately the budget. It's project requirement and the demand. Based on that, they will decide whether one they want to go or they want to go with all platforms.
Okay.
Cloud platforms. So that's all. Clear?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So from